let's shift gears and talk about nation states in general. So, a big part of the last 100 years of history has been since the Sykes-Picot Agreement, where sort of the idea of nation state has kind of been imposed on the Muslim world, really without most people's choice in the matter. And I'm curious what you guys perceive is how most Muslims view nation states. So they see them as a good thing, as a bad thing. Um, you're from Pakistan, you're from Turkey, probably two of the biggest Muslim countries with a sort of strong national identity,
Yeah.
maybe more so than a lot of the Middle Eastern countries. So, what do you guys think about this?
I mean, everybody cares when it comes to soccer, right? Just in Saudi Arabia, and they won their soccer competition. You know, I can't remember what it was because I'm not a huge soccer guy, but I know that's blasphemy for a Turk, but it's true. And everybody cares about national identity. I think it's important, right? Like I think to say that is say people take pride in their country, when it does well. So, you know, uh, I don't see people in Turkey or Saudi or Pakistan or some of these other Muslim countries going, I don't want to be a Turk. I don't want to be I want to be known as as like I'm from India, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like Turks aren't going like I want to be Lebanese, or I want to be part of Russia. So, and the Saudis certainly aren't doing that.
Yeah, I think one aspect we have to see it with more dissected view is that Islam is believes in one state for all the Muslims, unified under one flag, right? And the identity stays. For example, Turks are always Turks, Indians are always Indian, Lebanese are always Lebanese. As under the umbrella of Khilafah, they can exist. That was the idea, from the start. And the last, I would say, the last pinnacle or the last state in that regards was the Ottoman Empire.
Right.
Right? They wanted to incorporate, and but the problem, what happened back then, is the idea of nation state rose so fast from the opposite side, which I mean by European side or Western side, and it has its own benefits, right? It had some great things within it. So it was easy to adopt, I think. And then, of course, there was certain push behind it too, right? Not to just say that, oh, it was just attractive. No, there was also because West was pushing their own agenda or kind of like wanted people to follow that system. And then on the other side, there's communistic ideas. So it was the at that time, it was battle of the ideas. But why Islamic system failed is or didn't work out the way it is, right? The idea lies in this fact that it is non-practical in many aspects. You are trying to belt together ethnically diverse people under one religion, right? So you're saying stay common, stay put under one religion. That is your whole identity, and don't deviate from it. I think it becomes more than impossible to live with that type of notion, given that Arabs were the original givers of the book. For example, Quran is in Arabic, right? The whole culture, Islamic original culture, is Arabic, and when they saw it with the Turks, there was a kind of like, oh no, we are the inheritors of this Islam, and we should be in lead rather than non-Arabs leading that, right?
Well, there's a hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari where Muhammad says the Khilafah will remain among the Quraysh, even if there's only two persons left on earth.
Yes, there is. I think you're quoting Sahih Bukhari or
Yes,
Sahih
I
Muslim,
am. Yeah.
right? So that is there. So that gives rise to these type of notions. Then why not stay independent or make our own countries and make an alliance later on? The idea of alliance came later, which is in 1960s and 1970s when the Islamic OIC was established, Organization of Islamic Countries.
Arab League. all that
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
So all that time, but going back to the idea of nations, separate nations, from a traditional Islamic point of view, it does not exist. It is the act of revolution, I would say, or it is the act of how human societies progressed with time, and then whatever the system was best was implemented, and the best system was to have separate nations and work your way out.
Well, I think also when you talk in terms of the Ottoman Empire, I mean, it was there for a long time, and it had run its course. Like, you know, it had become technologically outdated quite quickly at the end, right? Like, they were they were they were insulated. Um, you know, they weren't forward thinking enough to keep what they had,
Mhm.
and on top of that, it became intensely unpopular within, like, in Turkey, right? Like, people did not want it anymore.
Yep.
So, I think that, like, when you start talking about, what does a modern day caliphate look like? If they were to, if they, whoever that they are, were to impose another, like, modern day caliphate, um, what does it look like? But I think that the thing is, since, for better or for worse, right? Since World War I, World War II, since the 60s, since the 70s, and everything else like that, people have tasted freedom. Like, they've tasted, like, the ability to migrate, for instance. You can leave your country now. Like, if you're a Turk, you can go to Germany and open a donor stand and have, like, a very good life. You know what I mean? Like, you can go to these different places. You can come to America like we did, and you can have a much better life than you did in your country. So I think once people have tasted that kind of freedom and mobility within that, um, you have to be either, like, super dedicated to this idea of living under a caliphate and losing all of that freedom and mobility, which I think you would, right? Because the only way it would work is if the entire world is a caliphate, right? Like, if it's all being ruled by the same person with the same rules and same values,
Yeah.
and I just don't see that happening.
On my way coming here, I was thinking about this, that how different Muslim countries have different versions of Islam. I'm not saying the core belief, and that's true about Christians too. It's not
Uh,
just about.
Islam is observed differently everywhere where it's observed,
Yes.
right?
So, with all that, how you can unify them. And also, not just saying it started from Ottoman Empire. Right after Khilafah, we read history together. How the Islamic history is full of turmoil, attacks upon each other. Umayyad versus Abbasis, and Abbasis versus someone else, and then going to the Spain, and then Spaniards, and so on and so forth. And then there is internal turmoil, brothers fighting against brothers, and so the idea of this itself is I think very impractical from the standpoint of ruling a mass with one entity which is culturally diverse and have so much of differences the way they think or the way they act, but you're unified under one particular thing uh, that is kalima. Kalima means Islam, right? So I think it it is there again. The emphasis is that it is according to Quran, it is according to Sunnah, but if you apply this now, ijma al ummah is agreed upon that the nation states can exist as within the bound of Islam. It is not something that is contradictory to Islam, that is not allowed by Islam. It's not something that is haram in Islam.
Mm-hmm.
You can have nations, just have the laws of Islam in your country, and that's what most of the Muslim countries are trying to do, particularly Pakistan, where they want to implement the Islamic system through democracy, which I don't know how that's going to work. It's not working because a lot of things are very contradictory to capitalistic idea. I'm not vouching here for capitalistic ideas, but the proven and tested methods are better than newer ones. Of course, you can try newer ones, which you have tried in the past and didn't work that great. So I don't know.
I mean, I think if you look at Turkey, they tried to do that. right? Like they're trying to do that now,
Mm.
particularly. Maybe they didn't try to do it at the onset of the republic, but if you look at it, I wouldn't say it's working, right? I wouldn't say that the trying to crossbreed, uh, an Islamic system with a democratic system is working, because look at the economy now, right? Like again, they can't adapt. You're too stuck on certain elements of Islam, and you're trying to marry them with capitalism, and they require like a sort of top down control. Whereas capitalism has, I mean, people would argue with me on this, the opposite effect, right? Like it frees up the individual instead of enabling, um, like a small circle of rulers. But if you see what happened in Turkey, like who had the final say on the economic policy, right? It was Erdogan. Like, who brought in all of these he brought in all these advisors and essentially didn't listen to them and did what he wanted because of how he viewed himself, right? Like, I'm the guy, I call the shots, right? Like, I want to be the Sultan. I want to do this and I want to do that. And if I do it, it's the right thing because God is on my side, right? Like, God is on my side and God is for the people. But bro, it's the wrong call, right? Like, inflation is crazy. Like, nobody can eat, you know? And I think that those are like some of the fundamental problems with that. I mean, I think what's hard to grasp, for Americans in particular, is this idea that, listen, your faith and the state are so closely connected in Islam. They are, they are historically and doctrinally supposed to be one. And in the West, it's not like that.